those things, can it?
I'll make that.
Do my,
Waste
just to let you
water.
know, I haven't gotten emails on
Recording in
email
progress.
for over a week, because I was away, and then I've been trying to do it over the phone with them, because our guy. I think I'm gonna drive
I saw
up.
Earl this afternoon, Sheila, and I said that you were in the office, and he said, is it just that you can't access your emails on your laptop or anywhere?
Your emails, can you access them from any,
No,
you can't access
No.
from,
I can't, but tomorrow I'm gonna go up and
Yeah.
get that fixed.
okay.
Yeah, Earl has a few loose ends, he said, I think at the police department, and then he could help you.
Okay, is he here tomorrow?
Yes.
All right, I'll be.
It's not Ryan, it's Earl, but he
Perfect.
knows what he's doing.
Doesn't matter. This is weird.
Hell is the audio?
It's John.
Not me, I'm fixing it now.
Everybody hears that personal conversation.
Okay,
So if the,
Gabriel, I just need you to, yeah, there we go.
I did.
There we go, okay. Okay. Okay, this is a meeting of the Wellfleet Selectboard, Tuesday, January 6, 2026. Time is now 6:02 p.m. and here at the Wellfleet Adult Community Center and online. As customary, and Happy New Year, everybody. As customary, we will begin with announcements and public comments. Public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker. The board will not deliberate or vote on any matter raised solely during announcements and public comments. So I'm going to lead off with an announcement that as of now, nomination papers for the annual town election are available in Town Hall for anybody who would like to pull papers. And does anyone else on the board have an announcement? Tom?
Just a shout out, if I could, to the fire, EMS, and police departments for helping that vehicle out on Lieutenant Island again. But they did a good job. It was cold. It was tough for the people that were stuck, and it was a cold day to do that. And just thanks.
Okay. Anyone else on the board?
Just
Ryan?
very quickly, just as a reminder to people, the various boards and committees of the town, that if they're looking to have an article in this year's annual town meeting, they should be looking at trying to get them in sooner rather than later so that administration has time to work with them. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Anybody else on the board? In that case, anyone in the room have anything they would like to address?
Oh, Sarah.
Seeing none. Anybody online?
I believe Ms. Flagg is online.
Okay, Ms. Flagg, go ahead and unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So Sarah Nichols here. I have some comments regarding the December 16th Select Board meeting. During a public hearing, the board regulated and restricted the content of my speech and did not allow me to speak. This violated my rights, broke the law, and broke the town's policy laid out in the Speech and Conduct at Public Meetings document. Every point I intended to make at the December 16th meeting was factual and directly related to the subject at hand. However, on 3 occasions, the chair cut me off, spoke over me, and my microphone was turned off before I had a chance to make any of my points or connections. This is highly troubling. I urge the board to take immediate action to ensure this type of situation does not occur in the future. All of this can be seen starting at hour 2, minute 29 to hour 2, minute 33 of the meeting recording. At the meeting, I stated that an explanation provided by Suzanne Thomas at the February 4th Select Board meeting regarding accounting discrepancies was false. This is a factually true statement which was acknowledged by Suzanne herself on February 19th in an email thread to myself, board members, and Mr. Garino. For Mr. Wolf and Mr. Garino to indicate this statement is of fact with somehow going after employees is preposterous. Those accounting discrepancies still stand and are in line with the discrepancies that can be seen on page 49 of the Select Board packet for the December 16th meeting. There could be a variety of reasons for these discrepancies. The important thing is the town's ability to identify and explain why they exist. Per the response I received November 18th to my public records request regarding the accounting discrepancies I pointed out in February, there have been no records generated by the town identifying/investigating why the discrepancies exist. The next point I intended to make is that there are 3 requirements for something to be considered a fee versus an unauthorized tax. It is unlawful for a town to charge an unauthorized tax. One requirement of a fee is that the charge is designed to compensate the government for its costs in providing the service and not to raise revenue generally. For anyone interested in reading more about this, Google Division of Local Service Fee versus Unauthorized Tax. Per my public records request, in the last 5 fiscal years, the beach operation generated over $2 million in excess revenue after fully funding the cost of the beach operation. This was pointed out in the group appeal submitted November 18th regarding real estate tax minimums and beach stickers.
You have
After
20
receiving-
seconds.
Why would the town still move forward with arbitrary fee increases? I'll be sending a more detailed letter to the board to be included in the official record. And as I've said before, it's not my intent to pester the board or to search for problems with how things are run in the town of Wellfleet. However, in the process of gathering data for the town for appeals regarding beach sticker eligibility, things continually pop up. I urge the board to revisit the matters I've identified and take the appropriate steps needed to correct those problematic issues. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else online?
I
I
don't
don't
see
see anyone
anyone.
online, Chair.
Okay, and last call in the room? Gone. All right, then, moving on. At this time, I will be giving our annual assessment for our evaluation for our town administrator and recommendation for the to the board for merit increase, which is written into the contract. So I'll begin that now. In compiling the annual evaluations submitted by my fellow Select Board members, I am gratified to note that my colleagues largely share my considered opinion that in Mr. Guarino, the town of Wellfleet continues to benefit from the services of a highly competent, energetic, and dedicated public servant who fully justifies the confidence expressed through these individual evaluations. Mr. Guarino came to Wellfleet as our town administrator at a time of great upheaval in numerous areas of town government. The continued recovery from a financial sinkhole with which we are all familiar, a much-needed restructuring of our budgetary process, a time of high employee turnover with a number of causative factors needing attention, an accumulation of results of long-term neglect of critical infrastructure, a state-imposed mandate regarding wastewater, which poses perhaps the greatest financial challenge in the town's history, to name the major players. Under his leadership, virtually all of these challenging issues has undergone a positive sea change. This is reflected in greatly reduced turnover and high employee morale, continuing improvements in the budget process, and sensible prioritizing of repair and improvement projects, a particular challenge at a time when massive decreases, for want of a more succinct description, in the availability of federal funds and partly as a consequence of state grant funding has made these accomplishments even more noteworthy. Additionally, upon taking the helm at Town Hall, he encountered a very different political and personality culture than he had been accustomed to elsewhere. This can indeed be a daunting experience, but Mr. Guarino has made great strides in acclimatizing himself to Wellfleet's unique character and characters. In this respect, he continues to master a potentially daunting learning curve. Mr. Guarino's working relationships in Town Hall are extremely positive, and he and the town's assistant town administrator, the administrative assistant, and the principal clerk have a very congenial and productive working relationship and clearly very much enjoy working with each other. Individual assessments made mention here and there of minor areas which could use improvement. Due to the fact that these assessments were made some time ago, I believe there is no need to point them out, as these have largely been addressed by Mr. Guarino in due course. All individual Select Board member assessments came in with scores which exceeded expectations. And the scores are as follows. Scores above 7.0 exceed expectations. Board Chair Wolf, 7.47. Vice Chair Lyons, 7.50. Member Curley, 7.35. Member Carboni, 7.80. And Member/Clerk Josh Yeston, 7.06, for a total average of 7.436 out of a possible 8. I think that the town can rest assured that we are and continue to be in good hands on the administrative front. To sum up, I believe that I speak for the Select Board in stating that the town of Wellfleet is very fortunate to have acquired the services of Mr. Guarino and look forward to his continuing energetic and competent leadership in Town Hall. His strong work in meeting our unique challenges fully justifies our confidence in him and justifies any and all merit increases in his compensation as outlined in his contract. And that specifically, I would like to propose to the board that we adhere to the recommendation of a 3.5% merit increase, and I'll take a motion.
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion?
None, but it would be good to see if there was any discussion around the performance review as well, after this vote, Mr. Chair.
Sure. In that case, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Ryan, aye.
Barbara, aye. Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
And John, aye. Passes 5-0.
I thank the board. I thank the board for the review. I look forward to the next one, kinda.
Yeah, enjoyed this one.
Well, thank you, Tom, and John, for all the hard work you guys are putting in. Ryan, did you want to lead off the discussion?
I'd have to really, I mean, I thought about looking at the review I'd done, and I didn't do it before this meeting. I highlighted basically financial management as a major area of improvement that's happened under Mr. Guarino's tenure, and the ability actually to proceed on projects that previously had basically been stuck. The one area that, I would really encourage Mr. Guarino and administration to continue to take a more active role in is specifically wastewater. It is an extremely expensive challenge facing the town, and it just needs attention commensurate along with the expense that is to be expected.
Fair.
Thank you, Ryan. Anybody else? Tom, do you want to?
The only comment I had is I appreciate the effort that the board put in, but one of the things that caught me a little by surprise, even after the interviews, was the level of number of projects that a town of 3,100 people is undertaking, type. And the other big issue was the lack of capital investment and upkeep in our facilities. That is going to take a long time to straighten out, as are a couple of other areas. We aren't able to hit everything all at once, and we have to kind of triage what we're doing. Ryan, I think, is correct that we need to focus a lot on wastewater, and we're going to talk about that a little later tonight. I think I got some ideas in my report. But the number of projects, the lack of capital investment, and the lack of human investment to some degree, not a lot. We can't be having 12 people in every department in a small town. But we do need to look at a staffing overview of the whole organization, because I think we can move people versus always having to hire more. I think there's better ways to utilize talent that we have. But I can't be happier with the reception I've received here over the last almost 24 months, and the willingness of the department heads to really try something new, even if they're not sure exactly what the outcome is going to be. And they keep John and I looking good because they do such a good job.
Anyone else on the board?
No, I could sit here and, further tell Tom what a good job he did, but I think that would just take too much time. So, no, I think that we're lucky to have him, and we're on the right road.
All right. In that case, thank you, Tom, and
I thank the board.
we will move on to okay, we will now move on to the public hearing regarding change of management for Wellfleet Marketplace and the accompanying wine and beer license. I guess we're going to be voting on transferring that to an all-alcohol.
No,
I
this
think they've
is,
already-
if you'll let
they've already
me,
had that.
this is, Robert Medeiros was the manager of the Wellfleet Marketplace for quite a while. Barbara Boone took over, I think it was about a year and a half ago, and he transitioned her, so she's ready to be the full-time manager. It's just an application to change managers from Robert to Barbara. She's not online. I don't know if she's in the room because I can't see, but it's a pretty simple transfer. Nothing else will change. During the year-round, their alcohol is only beer and wine. It only becomes all alcohol in the spring and summertime.
Okay. Now, as this is listed as a public hearing, I will now open this formally as the public hearing. Let me see if I can find the agenda item.
We don't have it
Oh.
as Rebecca,
Okay.
we don't have it in the same fashion.
Okay, in that case, this is clearly a pretty routine matter, and if there is anyone, I'll start with in the room, who has anything they'd like to, observations they'd like to make or questions they have in regard to this, this would be the time. And hearing none,
There are none online.
okay, I see no hands raised online. In that case, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing and
So moved.
Second.
a roll call vote.
Ryan, aye.
Barbara, aye. Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
John, aye.
And then, Mr. Chair, I move to approve the application received December 3rd, 2025, for the change of manager for Wellfleet Marketplace from Robert Medeiros to Barbara Boone for the annual wine and malt beverage license and seasonal alcohol license.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Ryan, aye.
Barbara, aye. Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
And John, aye. Passes 5-0. Then, thank you, everybody. Moving on to, I see use of town property, but there's nothing there, right?
Right, I just left it on the agenda.
Jump into business A.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're
we're
down
going
to
to move on to
business
business A, the discussion of the aquatic center study results. And who do we have presenting that? Hey, come on up to the table.
Real quickly, so these are the folks from Catalyst, Interior, and, all right, help me out.
We are Catalyst Architecture and Interiors.
I think you have
I
to
was so
press that
close.
again.
No, you don't press it.
Oh, okay.
Pressing it,
It might screw it up. Here.
no, pressing it mutes it. The wired mic should work, so.
It might
Yeah, just make sure you're close enough to it.
Yeah, you gotta be real close to those.
Okay. My name's Kurt Raber, and with me is my partner Todd Carson. We are two of the three partners at Catalyst Architecture and Interiors in Yarmouthport. Thanks for having us.
And so these folks were, they were solicited to do the work of looking at the possibility of an Outer Cape Aquatic Center per a state budgetary earmark that was provided to the town. I think we all remember that discussion. And so we went out, we solicited help from local architects. Catalyst was one of the first ones to jump in and say, we are very interested. We would enjoy the opportunity to work with the town of Wellfleet. They've done a lot of work on the Cape and some work similar to this type of project. It was great working with them. We had a great working group that we put together that consisted of representatives from various numbers of towns. We looked at footprints, but I won't take too much of your thunder. Why don't you guys kind of take it from there?
So great introduction. Senator Sear, I believe, was helpful in finding some monies to start studying the concept design of, and what would it look like, and what would it take to build a regional community center, specifically an aquatic center, on the Outer Cape and as a regional center. So with John's help, we convened a working group, which included Becky and her comrades in local towns from Eastham to Provincetown. And those recreation directors helped us sort of sort through what the building should be, what type of spaces would be there, what type of services would be offered there. And there was a lot of questions about how that would work and how that would be funded and how that would be staffed. But those were kind of all future problems. We were really specifically looking at what type of site would it take, what would be on that site, what would be in the building. And so we went through a programming process. We went through sort of a geographical analysis of where it should be. We looked at potential sites, and we didn't exclude anything. We just grabbed any site that we thought might be viable, and we added it to this preliminary list. And there could be other sites that we have not encountered or looked at. But generally, this result, and we've kind of captured a months-long series of meetings into a couple of graphic slides to compress this into a short presentation for you. Hopefully after tonight, there's a little groundswell of enthusiasm for this project, and we'd be happy to help Wellfleet spread the word in other towns if we get invited.
So I have your slides ready to go. So if you want to start with the first slide, which is your, I think it's the map that we put together with possible sites and footprints, et cetera. But you just tell me next slide, I'll go on to the next one, but here's our start.
All right, let me just get to. So this slide is just a regional map of the Outer Cape, and we've flagged some important locations on there in just the town centers, and we started to look at where's the center of this region, could this building be, and then later we'll look at specific sites up and down this corridor. Todd, what else would you add about the map?
Just that we tried to consider travel distances, like, is this much forward?
There you go.
We tried to consider travel distances from each of the sort of concentrated, sort of downtown areas, or where there were, facilities like senior centers, schools, ball fields, things like that, that might actually kind of contribute to the, the overall value of this, wherever it ends up landing within these regions. We also tried to, analyze where there are, things like the national seashore boundaries and, other things that might prohibit us from selecting a site.
So in the chart on the lower left of the page, I'm looking at a little bit larger so I can read it, but we looked in Provincetown for a site that might be feasible, and there just aren't kind of sites that are big enough for a building of this nature and a parking lot of this nature. And we were also thinking about a site of 4+ acres that would be large enough for the building, the parking, the associated septic system, if it needed one, and maybe some outdoor space like tennis courts or basketball courts or even a soccer field or some other amenities that might be over the top of a septic system. So we were looking up and down this corridor, and at the top of the chart is Provincetown, where we did not find a site that we thought. Truro helped us identify the Walsh property, which has about 4 acres, and it's formerly, rural residential properties. It was acquired by the town. It's not earmarked for housing or anything yet, so that was a potential site. It does have town water, but it doesn't have any existing sewer or septic infrastructure. It's also 15.4 miles from the center of Eastham, which we called their town hall, and it's 8.5 miles from Provincetown Town Hall. So that was sort of the extreme on the top side of the graph. On the bottom side of the graph was E8, this is site number 8 in Eastham, 3155 State Road, vacant open space land. This property is almost 9 acres. It does have town water, has no sewer, and it's only 0.8 miles from the center of Eastham, but it's over almost 23.5 miles from the center of Provincetown. So it's at the extreme lower end of the region in this corridor, so it's not that central. So obviously the sites in Wellfleet are in that middle zone, which are sort of equidistant from the extreme ends of the region. That doesn't make it those sites the right place for this building. The right site will become sort of evident maybe in the next phase of the schematic study. But we just kind of listed these properties. That way when people drive by them, they say, oh, okay, I understand what that property is. That's the size of property that a facility like this might require. It was just a way to kind of flag them and see where there's a density of potential on the map.
Like identify the two, it looks like there's one site or 2 sites in Wellfleet that you looked at as potential. I know that these are not.
Yeah, there's actually 6, and they're not all flagged on that map. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. But certainly the sites that are sort of equidistant in the center is right in the center of town was the Wellfleet Elementary School. It's 5 acres. And, maybe there was a way to co-locate a school and an aquatic center together. It has other facilities near it. There was just one, that was the northernmost site in Wellfleet. The southernmost site in Wellfleet was the Maurice's Campground. Again, 21 acres. I know there's a lot of housing being planned there, but it was just one of those things that the town is in the midst of acquiring and trying to decide what to do with that. Is there any way that some small portion of that could be set aside, especially right adjacent to Route 6? So that was just an idea, that maybe some small portion of that parcel and the infrastructure being brought to that site could supplement or offset some potential costs that this building might have.
Just a question about the map. What is the red circle?
Yes.
What's the significance of that?
That's counted.
The key red circles on the map.
Yeah, so the red circle that you see there in the center, that's a 5-mile diameter circle. So it's just to give you some context for the travel distances.
Oh, I see.
And it's not really showing up so much on the image on the screen, but there are also dashed circles. So each one of those represents a 5-mile diameter. So you can get, the full 25-mile distance roughly from the tip of Provincetown to the border of Eastham at Orleans.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may. So I'm a little confused why you would exclude areas that are within the National Seashore Park boundaries. The town of Wellfleet owns a lot of property that's within the Cape Cod National Seashore. This building itself that we're in right now is, or is it not? The water system is across the
The
street.
water across is, I don't believe this is.
Yeah, I'm not certain on this, but basically, there's limitations on what that land can be used for. It can be used for any municipal use or governmental use. And so, I don't really understand why, you would limit the search, particularly because we have actually a huge amount of land fairly close to the senior center here. We're talking, I don't even know how many acres, tens of acres.
That is listed.
So,
Gabriel?
Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. There's no green light, but it works.
Okay.
I was going to answer, I think, what you just saw on your site number W2 and W3. In fact, W2 is this site, which is 9.5 acres. W3 is, we just called it Cape Cod National Seashore because I believe it was coded like that on the assessor's map. But that's at the corner of Cahoon Hollow and Old Kings Highway, so that's right up the road. It's sort of adjacent to this parcel, and that's very large. It could be a potential site, or a small portion of that could. And of course, it's a large footprint building. As we get into the program, we'll identify it's 30,000 square feet, and the parking lot wants to be kind of flat. So some of this terrain right around here is up and down hills and vales, so it may not be ideal, but go ahead, Tom.
If I could, through the chair, I would, when you look at the amount of property necessary, we're talking, I think you mentioned 4 acres.
Right.
I suggest you take a look at, if this goes forward, at the Edgar May Center in Springfield, Vermont, which is a pool, and they put in a climbing wall, and I bet you it's not on 2 acres. It's really in a compact area of the city. And then I would look at the pool at the YMCA in Wareham as a type of template we might want to consider, because it offers 6 lanes, and then it has a pretty good size area for youth. There's a slide, there's shallow end, there's the lap lanes, and then there's, so there's a couple of different models to look at. Tight space, the Edgar May Center works really well. I think that's only a 4-lane pool, however, I don't think it's a 6-lane pool. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's a good segue to the next slide in the program.
Planned it.
Yeah, actually, John, if you could go one more slide.
Bring that up.
This is number 2.
Yeah, one more.
Keep going.
Yes, please. Yes, this one.
Oh, there, is that the one you want?
Yes, that's the correct slide.
Okay. Is that okay right there?
Yes, that's good. That's good. Can everybody else see the extents of the plan, or?
Well, somewhat.
Scroll out a little bit. I know it's hard.
Yeah, that should be good there.
Okay.
So this is the architectural space planning diagram. So this arose from multiple conversations that we had with the working group and the input of the Nauset Regional High School athletic director. And the goal of this is to try and establish the scale of the project. It looks like a floor plan. It's essentially a floor plan, but it's really a diagram so that we can establish the gross floor area of the building, start to look at things like overall scale on the site, and that's partly led to how we determined the 4-acre requirement, or roughly 4-acre requirement for the building. There are essentially 2 major components that came out of these conversations. One is the aquatic center, and we arrived at a 6-lane, 25-yard pool, which is pretty standard for high school athletics. as well as a warm water pool that would allow for additional functions, more accessibility, so you could have, senior activities, you could have youth activities in that pool, and then the 6-lane pool would accommodate, MIA swimming programs. The center of the building, we have a lobby reception area with a multi-use room. The multi-use room accommodates slightly fewer than 50 people, be a good size for small meetings, could act as a revenue generator. In this diagram, we placed it next to the pool because we talked about examples of facilities that provide a multi-purpose room adjacent to the pool facility where you could have like a kid's birthday party and have access to the pool. It's also central to the lobby and reception area so that it can possibly be used off hours. You could lock down the pool area, you could lock down the other athletic facilities and have access to that meeting after hours. In the plan to the left, we have the multi-purpose court. That arose from many conversations about the popularity of pickleball and the difficulty in controlling, sound. And we've all seen plenty of examples in the news of neighbors complaining about nuisance noise. So indoor pickleball was, a pretty popular request when we talked about this. And from there, it kind of turned into, a request for a multi-purpose court through the use of blended lines. It could be, in this example, we have the potential for 4 pickleball courts, which could also be a full-size basketball court. It could be indoor volleyball, a whole multitude of uses. And we've included individual storage for each town so that each town could, independently maintain their current recreation programs, store their own equipment inside of the facility. And in addition to that, we have in the center a block of family locker rooms that would accommodate approximately 40 people. And beyond that, we have team locker rooms, which could, support the idea of having this as, a regular facility for the Nauset Regional High School to use. So, the combination of the team locker rooms and the family locker rooms would potentially allow the facilities to be used at the same time and give you some controls over, where people can circulate throughout the space during those times. Additionally, just a couple more things. We have spectator seating in the pool area. One of the requests that we heard was that a lot of the facilities that are out there currently don't provide spectator seating. They provide deck area, which allows the teams to congregate and, some spectator room around the edges of the pool, but having a dedicated spectator area was a really important request that we heard. So that's essentially what we have here in the diagram, if anybody has any questions about that at this point.
John?
Real quickly, I just think it's worth mentioning that all the towns that were involved in this project, all were interested so long as the pool component was included. We talked about just a community center without the pool, given the cost driver that the inclusion of the pool creates. And it was made very clear that if the pool was not included, the interest fell off significantly. So, and I'm not sure if you think that's fair, but that was the impression I had. But that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. And I would add to that, the way we've laid this out in the diagram with the sort of central area with the lobby, reception, locker rooms, and the pool on one side, and the multipurpose court on the other side was deliberate because any of these components could work independent. If, it was determined at some point down the line that the multipurpose court doesn't work, it's very easy to kind of, drop that off the plan, and the diagram still works, still proves out. And,
Or phase it.
Or phase it.
If one portion of the building had to be deferred for budget reasons, it could be added later.
Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Actually, you could, that's just a a table, we could go to the next one, yeah. So again, this is, in the absence of a real site, it's, this is just a demonstration of what the building could look like, and what that diagram, in terms of, pulling it up and extruding into a three-dimensional building, what it could look like, and sort of the bulk of the building. On the left of that image, that would be the multi-purpose court. We've kept the images, relatively utilitarian and modest, just to demonstrate that, it could be something like a pre-engineered steel building to house the courts. That central lower mass would be where the reception and multi-purpose room would be. And then off to the right is the pool facility. And we do have a second image, if you want to flip to that real quick. So that's just more of a bird's eye view. Again, this could change dramatically depending on the site, the topography, the size of the site, the proximity to the road. The whole site layout could change dramatically, but this at least gives everybody a sense of what the scale of this building might look like.
Okay to stop sharing?
Yeah.
I think that might be the last one.
Yeah, I think that was the last
Yeah,
one.
that's the last one, I believe.
Sheila?
I just wanted to say for everybody here listening, again, this was a grant that was presented to us, and I guess it was assigned to Wellfleet to kind of spearhead this concept of a shared town facility. And I believe this is online. All of this is on the agenda packet. If people go to the meeting, so this is there. And I recommend you take a look at it, because it goes from all the meetings they've had and the different questions they've had about, should it be a gym, more of, geared to a gym as opposed to a pool? I mean, there was a lot of thoughtful conversation here, and it's going to, there are a lot of the questions that I think would be in this room are going to be in this packet. And nothing is, this is all preliminary, so nobody's saying that this is, but we're going to throw out there that this is a possibility that will be built somewhere between Eastham and, I guess, the border of Provincetown. And that's, I guess, all I wanted to say to kind of clarify where people can get more, because I think it really is a very good rendition of the conversations and summary of the minutes that were taken during these meetings. Thank
I
you,
have
Mr. Chair.
Just a quick question for our town administrator. This is just a presentation of
Possible.
what we're looking at. We're not intending to get into a discussion of the pros and cons, or at this point.
Not for this evening, no, Mr. Chairman. It was just a presentation of what, based on the meetings that folks had that John led with Becky and the area folks, to do a conceptual view of what this might look like if it were to go forward with some possible sites. There may be other sites that are available too. This was, as you remember, this didn't come with a huge price tag with the earmark. We were fortunate to get it, and we thank Senator Sear for it. But it was limited as to what we could accomplish in this phase.
Right. Okay, yeah, because I'm sure others do too, have questions related to ongoing expenses and so forth, but those questions are probably better for another.
If I could interject one more time. Okay. I think we need to, the next steps would I think, be to find out if the interest is really strong amongst our neighboring communities. We know that there's a good critical mass of citizens that will use it, and that's what is the key. If there is that type of critical mass and there's momentum to move this forward, at that point we need to bring in our elected representatives from the state and the Senate, the State
more
House,
money.
because in my view, the state does a lot. They build hockey rinks, they build pools in the cities, they take, and my thought would be to try to put a press on to get DCR or another state agency to help with the construction. And then we talk about the maintenance and so forth thereafter. But there's a lot of work to do between now and then, and we need to make sure there's enough momentum for us to take this on, because this is gonna be a big
Huge.
job.
Because that would be one of my big concerns, given all the other challenges Wellfleet is facing.
We would need help from the other communities. This has gotta be a multi-community effort. Our bandwidth for another big project right now is very limited.
And it's not just the project itself, it's the ongoing maintenance.
Yeah.
that I'm
Exactly.
concerned
Well,
about.
that would have to be a joint venture.
Okay, Barbara?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And through the chair, thank you to the presenters. First, I commend you for the form of your presentation, which is to speak to us about the project with a few visuals rather than a PowerPoint presentation, next slide, next slide, next slide. So thank you for presenting it the way you did. I think it was extremely effective. I don't want to speak out of turn because Truro is very well represented by Damien and Jen, but I work for the town of Truro as well. I'm the town planner. The Walsh property is almost 70 acres of contiguous town-owned land, and the town meeting recently rezoned the Walsh property, which we think of as one big property to plan for, into two development areas for housing and limited commercial uses, but a very large chunk of it is for recreational use. So and every time we've done a survey to ask, what do people want, they say a pool. So I would just encourage you to revisit that site. It's not simply a small piece of Walsh that might be available, but there's an entire recreational district. So again, as you pointed out, the infrastructure is not there. But in terms of sort of capacity to house something of this proportion, I mean, we're going to be developing housing and other uses there, and that is a very logical place. So thank you very much.
Interesting. I think the 4 acres that we put on our sheet was a piece that Damien mentioned might be available for, or unclaimed for housing.
Sure,
Yeah.
but there's a large chunk. I mean, again, we're very well represented on this committee in your working group by Damien and Jen, but maybe have another conversation with him about what might be available, because at least from the planning perspective and the zoning perspective, we have zoned, a third of that property at least for recreational uses.
Great.
Thank you.
Or Josh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep this brief, but I was a water rat, right? I started swimming year-round when I was 6. Practice at least 3 nights a week, swim meets every weekend. The benefits of swimming as a child is tremendous, and year-round is even better. I share my colleagues' concerns around the administration of this, let alone the cost and build-out. But, in terms of principally giving everyone, but specifically the youth, the opportunity to participate in a swimming activity off-season would be tremendous. So thank you for getting this ball rolling.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
So your draft report, or your report, estimates the capital cost of around $20 million.
It was 25, I think. Anyway. What's five?
Yeah, what is that inclusive of, and what might it leave out?
Well, we were comparing this project to other nearby local projects of similar nature or scope. And the only one currently being built is the new YMCA that just broke ground in Falmouth, which has a slightly different program. They don't have the giant gymnasium, but they have a lot of other features. So that in our report, we talked about a range of $650 to $750 a square foot. The pool is all of $750 because the systems that go with the pool, the locker rooms are plumbing intensive. So the aquatic center and support spaces are expensive. per square foot, the cost of the building goes down, the bigger you make the gymnasium space, because it's a big box, and it has less in it. And so there's a balance. Somewhere we'll reach the balance. So we offered sort of that range, and the cost could be 17.5 to 20, just on other, nearby projects today. Then we kind of inflated it and said, well, if you put other burdens on top of the project for public bidding, wage rates rather, and it's a couple years out, and there's a little escalation and inflation, it could be in that $20 to $24 million range.
Okay, so also just for any construction project out here is typically between a 10 to 20% overage from that's located close to the bridges. It has to do with basically the location of the various construction firms and specifically unionized shops and labor, because that is basically what prevailing wage is built around. And I would say that the islands, they were telling me it was like 30 to 35%, but out on this section of the Cape, it's between 15 to 20%, and we saw that with the Nauset High School project as a recent example. So.
Next steps, John.
So, just to wrap up the conversation, I think, what happens next will in large part dictate whether this project sinks or swims. No pun intended. Yeah, I know, that was terrible. But truthfully, I was asked that question quite a bit. Well, what are the next steps? And truthfully, I think it's a path that each town needs to decide, but there is some momentum right now. I was not shocked, but I was surprised at the level of interest from a wide variety of the community, the school, older swimmers, younger swimmers. There were a lot of people interested in hearing more about this project. And I think, again, whether this project kind of takes a hold and gains momentum will be in large part what happens next and how much support and people rally behind the project and organize on a grassroots level and a town level. That will really decide whether this goes forward or not. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the rec director had her hand up.
Yes.
Now, we need a letter to get her to be able to reach that.
All right, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Becky Rosenberg, the Wellfleet Recreation Director, and it was a real pleasure to serve on this committee with these guys. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and everything with us. I would like to thank Senator Sear and the Wellfleet Selectboard for their support in the creation of this exciting proposition. All stakeholders listed in the report have expressed a desire to investigate this project in greater detail, recognizing the tremendous potential for enhancing recreational programming for all ages that a regional center would provide. Due to this strong community interest exhibited by many people who showed up tonight to hear the proposal plus online, the Wellfleet Recreation Department and Committee propose, with approval from the board, to continue meeting with representatives from Truro, Provincetown, Eastham, and the Nauset schools to explore grant opportunities and site feasibilities along with management structures of similar facilities, other pertinent details, and then report back to the board with these findings. The benefits of providing public affordable recreation centers of this type are well documented. According to the National Park and Recreation Association, regional public community centers provide the most accessible, affordable way to help residents stay healthier longer, also serving to reduce stress, improve property values, retain public employees, promote cultural diversity, boost student performance, provide opportunities for childcare, and positively impact public safety, and increased tourism. For residents of the Outer Cape, proximity to this type of facility is sorely missing and has the potential to exponentially improve the quality of life and wellness for residents of all ages. Thank you for your support of this project.
Thank you, Becky.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
if I may. So before it really necessarily gets to next steps, it would behoove everybody if you could meet with the select boards of the individual towns and see what their willingness is in terms of participating in something along this nature. The staff might say one thing and select board members might be on a different page. You never know. So I would just encourage, the earlier you can reach out and talk with the individual boards, the more productive this will be. So.
Through the chair.
Tom?
Might it make sense, Mr. Chairman, not only that these folks go back to their individual boards, but you had been talking the last few meetings about having some regional meetings with our neighboring communities. Might this be something of a topic?
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing that would, that would benefit. So I'm going to resume my outreach now that the holidays are over to the other boards to try to get that to happen, maybe in February.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And we'll keep you updated. I had mentioned an initiative I'm taking to have perhaps quarterly joint meetings of the Outer Cape Select Boards to discuss regional issues of potential cooperation. And this is one example of something that could benefit from that.
And we'd be happy to come back to a regional meeting and going to show the slides again and talk about the building a little bit more.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Kurt.
Might be a better use of everyone's time to do
Yeah.
it that way.
Excellent.
I hadn't planned on it, but I think, why don't we do that? I don't want this to go on too long, but I don't see too many hands raised. So yes, we'll take public comment.
So come on up.
Who wants to start?
My name is Todd Schwebel. I'm the new chairperson of the Truro Recreation Committee. And this plan is awesome. I would love to see this. And I was just wondering, given how hard it is to build stuff out here, if it's been looked into to buy Willie's Gym.
East Ham has said they're not going to, but they would do everybody a favor if.
Right.
I know, it seems like it's already there, but, all right, well, thanks. That's what I was wondering.
That might be something worth pursuing.
If I may, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, if the towns did come together and decided, with the help of the state, who is initiating this whole process, if they wanted to buy, I mean, they could make, hopefully an offer that she wouldn't refuse or something, but, I thought the same thing, but we could take it and improve it, or do you bulldoze it? I mean, it all depends on what's the most cost-effective, so.
I'll take one more in the room, then I'm going to take someone online.
Hi, my name is Deb Felix. I live in Wellfleet. And I'm one of the volunteer
Nice catch.
Very good.
one of the volunteer instructors for the water aerobics program through the COA here. In the summer, we do it in Great Pond, and then we move to Long Pond. And I just want to say I kind of represent that group. There are 65 of us, I think, and from different towns who, when they heard about this project, were so excited. And everyone I've talked to in Truro and in Wellfleet who has heard about it is really on board. So in answer to your question, is there support? Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So many people don't even know about this yet.
Right.
I don't know if you're going to go out and ask for, public comment. I don't want to make any specific, suggestions about it at that level at this point, but I just wanted you all to know there is a huge amount of support for this project. So go, go, go.
Thank you. Online, there's someone who's had her hand raised for a while, the name Joan. If you could unmute and identify yourself.
My name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Joan Zukas, and I'm a resident of Wellfleet. I'm also on the school committee and a subcommittee of behavioral health. Not that I'm representing the school committee or behavioral health, but I am very excited about this, and I'm also a mermaid in addition. I want to express that this also has huge ramifications for maintaining the health of our young people by giving them healthy choices and a place to congregate so that we can stem the tide of some of the drug use and enhance rehabilitation and people who are trying to live a clean life and have clean things to do that are healthy. So there's another piece of that that I think is important for our students and adults in this community, since we do have significant issues around drug use on the Cape. So am I correct in saying that the best way for us to communicate from the various towns is to go through our select boards? And that's one question. And the second question is there another committee being formed that some of us that are interested in being on a committee that brings this forward can join?
Through the chair.
Yes.
At some point, there will be a steering committee if this moves forward that would incorporate representatives of all of the various groups that want to sit, be it municipal, other municipalities, senior centers, advocacy groups. There would be a steering committee. But that's a ways down the road until we make some further determinations as to the other municipalities' buy-in through their select boards, as Mr. Curley brought up. And then I would think a scoping session or two on how to set the timetables and the expectations of milestones and when we're going to reach those and how we're going to get the funding for this. So I think a steering committee is a little bit out in the future. It's not for right now, I don't think.
Okay.
All right, one more, and then I'll stop. I wouldn't eliminate private donations to move us further.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there will need to be money that may or may not be available, through the state. But there may be private monies that can move this to the next step also, and that should be looked at.
Good point, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ed Castorella, and I'm chair of the Eastham Recreation Commission. And we're fully behind this project. We're looking forward to working forward to moving it forward, and agreed wholeheartedly with this last speaker about the need for a community center for our younger people who are out there just wandering around is way, way overdue. And a regional center may be the answer because of the expenses involved for the individual towns. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Bacon, you have your hand up.
Good evening, Board. Can you hear me?
Yes.
For the public record, Kathleen Bacon speaking. I agree with Board Member Lyons' comments. I read the packet and was very impressed with the working group's comments and the presentation tonight. But nobody has mentioned what I'm going to speak about, which is sustainable community. We are, in reality, less a sustainable community year-round than we were 10 years ago. We are losing young people. We're losing families because there's just not a lot for people to do here in the winter months. Having a facility of this nature not only would serve, the younger, underserved residents of Wellfleet, but, the older individuals. I'm very familiar with the YMCA on Martha's Vineyard. This is a facility that sits smack dab in the middle of the island. It's open 362 days a year, and while it's an umbrella for many, many different programs, from ping pong to bridge, it is it's the community's heartbeat of the island. It's very inexpensive to be a member, and it's just a place that brings community together and sustains it. For the cost, yes, stuff like this is costly, but to do a regional buy-in with 4 towns, I mean, come on, how often does that come along? So I hope that there'll be momentum behind this, and I thank all the people that worked on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. There was another hand up, but that person,
They probably didn't want to be redundant.
yeah. Okay, very good. Go ahead.
Mary Ann Boswell, Wellfleet. Many YMCAs used to also have dorms, and it is conceivable that this could have an element above it, second floor, that would have seasonal dorms. And this is a wonderful idea.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I thought that too. Workforce housing.
Okay, we have one more hand up. Damian Clements. And then I think after this, we'll wrap it up.
Right.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Damian Clements, Director of Community Services for the town of Truro. I just wanted to show our support behind Becky in the continuing research for this project. We have also received a lot of comments and a lot of desire for a facility like this, so I just want to put our weight behind it that we're fully in support of researching this further.
Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, well, I think
Okay.
we have gotten some pretty good
Feedback.
input already, so I will, of course, keep everyone aware of my efforts to get the 4 select boards together, and this will definitely be one of the hot topics that we'll address. And I'll make sure you're kept in the loop. And
Thank you very much for having us.
Well,
thanks for taking the time to come here.
Very good. Very special. Not everybody gets a round of applause.
Start the drawings tomorrow.
Yeah,
That
usually you
doesn't
get the
happen
bummer.
very often. No, it doesn't.
Anyway.
Youthful look, Mr. Rayburn.
Yeah, we need more money. Money. Oh, a lot of people for that. We had the Boys Club and Girls Club, and of course, the Boys Club is the one that they rebuilt and put the pool in. So we would have special days, and then on Friday nights was Splash Club.
Nice.
And everybody would like to go to the splash swim. So it did keep us busy and someplace to go and hang in the winter.
Yeah.
It did.
Just having flashbacks to
Yeah, me too.
Half-blind.
I know, when I was reading this, I was going
Are
back.
we entertaining the idea of a recess?
I don't know, I think
Because
we're ready to.
that's what it sounds like.
Okay.
All right, the meeting is in recess for the next 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Going to call the meeting back to order. Okay. All right, we call the meeting back to order, and unfortunately, we were scheduled to have the presentation on the parking study for the, I don't know, 3rd or 4th time now it's been they were not prepared and had notified us at very short notice that they're not ready. So,
I think it's really the 20th or something.
well,
We'll see.
we'll see, but I did,
not happy.
I registered my displeasure through an email because this is something that affects everybody. It's a pretty big item that people need to discuss. And we've been working on this for a long time. So unfortunately, we'll have to pass that over for tonight, and we'll figure out when it's going to be next on the agenda. So we're moving on from that to the food pantry contract discussion. Hi, Bruce.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see you all.
Happy New Year.
Happy
I was
New
in
Year.
Lowell in court this morning, so it's a pleasure to be back in Wellfleet.
Yes, I know. Don't fall asleep now.
Okay, who would like to open this up? Okay.
So, town council drafted a agreement to be signed by the food pantry and the town that reflected what was approved at town meeting, along with some discussions the town has had with the representatives from the food pantry. Town council representing the food pantry had a few concerns with the language that town council had drafted, and those concerns are reflected in the packet. And what you see for the memo is Section 5, let's start at the top. Section 5.5 is the actual proposed language in the contract, and then underneath that is the question/concern from council representing the food pantry. We did send these back to town council to answer, and town council responded with a email that said, although they understood the concerns, they weren't legal in nature, and that they were more for the town to decide, with the exception of the hazardous materials concern/provision. Yeah, item 13.4. That was a legal issue that town council will handle. However, the other three, town council felt like it was more for the town to decide what that language should say. I don't want to go too much further into that. I don't want to take council's thunder, but go ahead.
We can deal with this very quickly. I was actually the one that worked with town council and with Rex Peterson on the first ground lease, which is the only precedent to this. So I'm very familiar with the language and the issues. And I since met with the board to deal with some of these questions, so I think we can address them very quickly. On the issue of additional rent, the concern of the board, they just wanted to make sure that there was no authority on the part of the select board to raise the rent, which was the $1 a month for the period of 99 years. I indicated to them that I didn't really have a concern about that, that the only items of additional rent would be things like betterments or additional costs that the town would incur that would be passed on to the food pantry. So I don't have any issue anymore with the question about 5.5.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, would those items be like one-time expenses or?
Yeah, things of that nature, but not, for example, they couldn't say, we don't want the rent, or the board couldn't say, we now want the rent to be $100 a month
right.
instead of $1.
Right.
That was really the concern of the board, and I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, through you, just while we're on 5.5, and this might have just been a clerical error, but there appears to be a typo. I think is it supposed to be SERE betterment, or is it supposed to be sewer betterment?
That would be sewer, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that in the contract itself we're accurate. You learn new words every day that might have been something. All right. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to call that out. Thank you.
Okay.
And that was the only.
On 5.3, the only issue that I had was that if you'll notice on 5.4, there's language in the middle of the paragraph that says that the consent for the approval of alterations would not be unreasonably withheld. And I just requested that language be in 5.3 as well regarding the initial plans. It was just a consistency issue.
I don't see an issue with that. It's up to the board, but I think that's.
Oh, and the other issue only about that is we were just concerned or curious about the issue of process. When we did this, which is now 20 years ago for Preservation Hall, it was really a seamless process, essentially, and that was a very significant construction project, as you might recall. The reason it was seamless is that basically our architect would provide us with plan alterations, changes, whatever the case might be. We would then present them to the town administrator. Actually, it was the assistant town administrator, Rex Peterson, who I worked with extensively on all of those changes for Preservation Hall. And we were just curious as to whether or not the process would essentially be the same, so that it would be expedited and there really wouldn't be delays in moving the construction project along. In other words, would the alterations or requested alterations of the plans first be presented to the TA or to the assistant TA, provided to the select board where necessary, just to make sure that the process proceeded in kind of a seamless manner. This is a different construction project because it's new construction, and obviously Preservation Hall was a very, very substantial renovation. So that was really the only issue. It was just a question to the board or to the town administrator about process.
Question through the chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a new building, okay? So I don't, maybe you could explain a little bit more to me where I'm having a disconnect. We're putting up a new building.
Correct.
It's going to be designed by an architect. It's got to be approved. It's got to go through all the approvals and all of the things that go with it. What other alterations? You mean future after the place is built, or during the construction if there's a change order?
Change orders.
No, actually, the wording says, in addition to going through the entire ZBA, building, construct, permits, in addition to going through all of that, we're supposed to go to the town and get town approval. And I interpreted that to mean you wanted to make sure that the look and feel of the building is consistent with what's already here. And we just don't know who do we share that with, and what's that process?
Through the chair, I think the initial, at least the first couple of renditions of this need to come to the select board. I don't think it needs to come to the town administrator until the select board has given their blessing that this is the outline, the style, all of that is fine. At that point, it would be up to the board. But if there were change orders within the blueprints that you're building, that we got to move a door from here to here, yeah, I don't know what the board's interest would be in that, but the initial view of what this thing is going to look like and how it's going to fit in, how it'll match up with this particular building, I think that's important, and the select board has to sign off on that. That can't come straight through the town administrator.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'm through the chair. This is partly for John and Tom and maybe partly for council. So section 5.3, it seems to anticipate that the plans are approved by the time we sign the lease. Is that correct?
That would be my
Okay.
understanding.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay. We don't have a building committee or anything like that, right? No, okay. Okay, that's it, thank you.
And I have one question about a question, whether the question was resolved, and that is, it's on the end of the paragraph on hazardous materials. Does this preclude the installation of a propane tank for use with the backup generator? Was that resolved? Or?
I looked at the language, and I don't think it does, but I guess that town council was going to give an opinion on that. I don't know what that opinion was. My personal opinion is it doesn't prevent the installation of a propane tank.
I don't think it would.
I would think the fire department would be the one to weigh in on that.
The fire department, the BI, but certainly council needs to opine on it as well, because he said he would.
Okay.
But we have not received any opinion on that.
We have not received any opinion on that as of yet, Mr. Behrens, no.
And the only other issue was the issue of ownership upon termination. I think that's probably premature at this point. It's a 99-year lease. At some point between now and 99 years, your children or your children's children can raise that issue and decide whether or not this is going to go on for another 99 years. But I don't think that's an issue at this point.
Okay.
If I'm still here in 99 years, I'll be very disappointed.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Just speaking broadly, because I think that might be the easiest way to solve some of these in general, is I'm very supportive of anything that the food pantry might need. And if we can just go forward with that approach as basically, whatever they need to be successful and provide food, food to the local residents is basically the priority. And I don't want to get too hung up over, small, clauses or things of that nature. If we can just keep the larger picture in focus, and take that kind of as, speaking broadly, what we would want to see moving forward. So.
And we're ready to sign the lease. We're actually meeting with the architect tomorrow. So as soon as the lease can be put in final form, we're ready to sign it as long as the board is.
Through the chair, but I think that was my question. The lease seems to anticipate that by the time the lease is signed, the plans have been approved. So I guess that was my question.
So is that ZBA plans? Because we're sort of talking, we're like a little bit of a chicken and an egg here.
No, I think once we sign the lease, the plans would then be submitted afterwards.
That's not what Barbara said.
No, that's not the way I read it.
That's not what, yeah. So, again, we probably don't need to take up too much
Oh,
board
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and, I mean, I fully support this, and I'm very comfortable with whatever agreement town council and you can agree on. I just would want to know whether by the time we sign the lease, that means the plans need to be approved or
And
not.
I just looked at the language. We will submit the plans once we have them, before the execution of the lease.
Thank you.
So that means that, I don't know what level of detail we need for the plans, but I'm anticipating that we need some sort of letter that says the town would hope to give us this lease in order to apply for grants.
Well,
So that's where our,
they've indicated that. We need to
Yeah.
give them the plans first,
Yeah.
which we will do.
yep.
Yeah, and happy to delegate any of this responsibility to department heads, and it's got the not unreasonably withheld. I don't want to hold it up, I just want to make sure we know before we sign it.
No one wants to hold it up. We
Yep.
want to move expeditiously forward, but I do want the select board to see what it is you're proposing to build before I put a stamp on it, that's all.
Certainly.
And can I ask just one more question?
Yeah.
Is there anything about assignment, about whether you can assign it or not?
It's not assignable.
Okay, there's something in here that says that?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a no assignment clause in the
Okay.
ground lease.
Thank you.
A previous draft had a clause about subletting.
Yeah.
Is that still in there? Because there are situations where a food pantry might actually sublet with a provider to provide specific services. In some other areas, sometimes they've partnered with social workers, where they have, kind of an office inside the food pantry and then to meet with social workers, with the clients there. So I would personally prefer more flexibility, particularly just, yeah.
So through the chair, I mean, I think there'd be a way to build that in, but it would probably have comparable language with the approval of the town, such approval not unreasonably withheld. I'd be fine with that.
We can take a look at that.
Yeah.
Chair, I think it's also worth mentioning that this contract will come back to the board for final approval. Once we receive the signed signatures from the food pantry folks, it will come back to this board for final signage and approval. So there will be another chance to review some
Sure.
of the language that we're talking about, that's all.
Okay. So we're not looking for anything tonight, a motion or?
No, the food pantry proponents are very anxious to get moving on this, and they are excited about being able to get this done with the least amount of hiccup from the municipal side.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So now understanding that we can't sign the lease until we have an approved plan to review. Is there anything we can give you now that you need to start your process for fundraising, grant writing, et cetera, that you already don't have?
We will have, we're seeing tomorrow, Thursday, the first draft of what the outside of the building will look like. We have a footprint right now that we're pretty comfortable with. And
Can you get closer to the
Sorry.
mic, actually? It's.
we have the footprint of what the inside of the building will look like, the layout, the floor plan. On Thursday, we'll begin to see what the whole building will look like. And by the end of January, I'm hoping that we have something, we're planning on having something to send out to contractors to say, hey, what might this cost? And that might be a really good time to come back to the select board to say, here's what we're envisioning. Does this make sense to you? And then we can maybe facilitate the signing of the lease at that point, or the
Okay.
finalizing of it.
That is your question.
Absolutely. I was just, between now and then, if there's something that this board can do to help you in your process, if, I'll speak for myself. I don't want to be a roadblock to progress on this project. So if you have everything you need, fantastic. If there's something we could do between now and then, please let us know.
One other question, John, then I'll.
Letter?
If the folks from the food pantry would think it helpful, even in this interim period while you're if you need a letter from the town saying that
Yes.
the town meeting has approved this, the select board has approved as well, to date, the project's gonna go forward, we support any activities or grant activity, we'll do whatever you need.
We do need that.
Okay.
Confirming, yes.
That'd be very helpful.
Okay.
All right.
Do you want to, through the chair, do you want to vote to authorize
So
Tom to
moved.
prepare?
I don't
Okay,
need-
no?
Authorization to write a support letter, but if the board wants it.
I don't know, I mean, usually I say we don't need a vote for that,
Yeah.
but just in case it's useful.
Yeah, it may be helpful if they need it for the record, they can show the vote. I'm sorry, I didn't.
You can indicate that we have your enthusiastic support.
Enthusiastic Exactly.
I didn't,
All they have to do is
I
watch this.
misunderstood.
Yeah,
I'll second the motion, so.
okay,
Yeah.
yes.
He just did.
Thanks for the help.
So moved, we just need a second.
I
Right,
second.
seconded it.
All right, roll call vote,
Ryan, aye.
Barbara, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
and John, aye. Passes 5-0.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, folks.
Bruce, I hope this is one of your easier
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah,
symbolic.
you're easier.
situations.
I'm sorry.
You're easier
It's all right, I don't
assignments.
care.
Hey, Bruce, could you give me a call tomorrow? Could you give me a call tomorrow? Yes, I will. Thank you, sir.
All right, so now we are on to the
Seasonal communities.
Seasonal Communities Grant Program.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're all the volunteers. Thank you.
Who do we have?
It looks like,
No,
Ann
no,
Shippenhouse
it's not.
was
Ian's
actually-
online.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ian's up. Huh?
Okay,
Yeah, John's on, Ian's online.
okay. Ann, would you like to introduce this?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So as part of the seasonal communities designation, have done a pilot first round of funding where any of the communities, the 15 on the Cape that approve the seasonal communities designation have been awarded a grant. Wellfleet was awarded $132,000, a little over $132,000. We found out at the end of December. It's a very short time frame. We have to apply for what projects or funding we would want for by Friday of this week, and the funds have to be expended by June 30th, 2026. So I met with Tom and with John, and we thought about what could we do in terms of programs that could use the funding and expend it. Not just incur, but expense by June 30th. And so we identified 4. 2 were to put funding in existing programs, so the down payment and closing cost program, as well as the ADU program. Another area we identified was, we're nearing completion on Lawrence Hill, and to be able to build a fence and some of the landscaping around the one abutter of that property was a potential expense. I met with Rob Doan today from Rubber Bee Hour. They're going to get, with John Bugby as well, we discussed it. He's going to get us some estimates. In the meantime, I reached out to EOHLC, highlighting these 4 areas that I think we're going to put in that's 4 different applications for funding. Each of them are different. Mackenzie Bell responded that they have not in the past done a landscaping type of funding. They've done infrastructure, but she didn't say no. I have to follow up with her tomorrow about it in a little bit more detail. And then the last portion was just some marketing and outreach, which they said is acceptable so long as the funding doesn't support, a staff salary, which it does not. So those were the 4 areas we were thinking about. We have till Friday. It's a simple application. It's about 2 pages for each of those 4 or more, whatever, if there's anything else the select board would like to consider. It's a somewhat flexible process in that if, from a meeting today with a bunch of the regional housing and community development people they were talking about the fact that if, say, we've earmarked 50 for down payment and 30 for ADU, but we get a big surge in ADU, there is flexibility to move if some of the down payment assistance isn't going to be used to allocate it to ADU and vice versa. So it's a great opportunity. The first time we receive funds, we're trying to use them as effectively as possible to support housing and housing development, and also, the outreach and awareness of some of the programs that people might not know about.
Through the chair.
Yes.
One other area of interest that was brought to me from Mr. Curley was to take a look at rewriting the zoning bylaw, updating it and rewriting the zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
But I just I want everything out there, that's all.
I don't want it to be a comprehensive rewrite. I was saying to bring into compliance with the Affordable Homes Act and the seasonal communities requirements, because there's specific requirements that we're now under. And in the past, basically, the states, there's multiple ways the state started going about enforcing these requirements. One is of course, the most drastic is court action, but the initial one has been the withholding of any and all grants to towns if they fail to come into compliance. And I know with some of the meetings with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, they've also talked about potentially uncertifying towns from being in the seasonal communities program. So, as a early, order of priority, like we need to get our zoning into compliance with both the Affordable Homes Act and also the additional requirements of the seasonal communities designation.
Josh?
So, I guess I pose a comment, a question, and a comment. First comment being, and please correct me if I'm missing something here, but $50,000 for a fence, I'm not sure I would rank as a top priority, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, I think this particular home is.
Right there.
Yeah, it's right there, and the only thing that she has asked, and she's been very good to work with, is that there be good screening beyond just arborvitaes being thrown down. And we don't anticipate any odor from the plant, we don't anticipate those types of things, but this particular home is right on the firing line. And
Okay.
yeah, it's just a good neighbor policy, that's all.
That was a comment. Question relating to Mr. Curley's comment is, would that not be the role of our town planner and land use council to do
Typically,
this?
consultants are hired to perform this. I believe Barbara Latrobe.
So through the chair, we have hired a consultant to work with the zoning task force on a number of projects, including the successful zoning of the Walsh property, creating an overlay district. They're working on a second overlay district. The bringing our bylaws into compliance with seasonal communities and affordable homes, I'm actually working on, but it's really a workload issue for the town administrator, I think, to decide whether that is something that is better done in-house or by consultant. But just along those lines, I'm just wondering, since in Truro it's been very helpful to have a consultant work on zoning, whether, even if it's not the Seasonal Communities and Affordable Homes Act zoning, whether that would be a good use of this funding. So just kind of combining those things.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So I think those are all worthy comments and things to think about and things we'll have to do. But right now, we have until Thursday or Friday to get this in. And that's a lot of planning and thinking and who is going to be. I think that for our first round, if we can successfully distribute this money as it's laid out and fulfill the requirements of the loan, I think Ann has done a good breakdown of where that money could go. And I would rather just stick to what has been recommended for now and work with Ann and our housing boards and address these issues in the future if we're going to hire a consultant. I just think if we have such a short time, I think we should go with what we have and now think about those other things for the next round. Just my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, Ryan?
So, basically, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, one of the most frequent things that they fund is basically consulting services to look at zoning. There's obviously higher dollar things than that, but in terms of consulting services, that's kind of a bread and butter, is to provide grants to provide technical support to bring zoning to, whichever way they would like it to go. So I know that at least as of late, we've really struggled to find houses that qualify for the down payment assistance. It has to do with just the median sale price of properties exceeding by far the amount that's allowed for that program. And I know a number of times we've gone sometimes more than a couple of years without finding somebody that's able to utilize it. I wish, I always say this with the state, I wish when they give us time, they would give us more time, because it's like, all right, we're going to take a while figuring out what we're going to do, and then it's like, oh, you have to figure this out within the next,
2 days.
basically,
10 days, yeah.
well, a few days, and then expend everything within 6 months, which is just, not great.
Right.
But, I think that, starting some work on zoning is going to be, a requirement. And, yeah.
I guess I have a question. Given that, Ann has given us this breakdown, how would we work that into this?
So I would say one compromise might be if the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities says that the fence installation is not allowable under this program, because it may or may not be, is to then be able to repurpose those funds for zoning as a compromise, and I think that's reasonable.
In other words, if we can't do the fencing.
Right.
I think, John, I'm going to ask you to bring that up. I just want to show people what we're talking about with this screening.
Do you want to see this version or this version?
That one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a better picture. Sorry, John.
It's okay. So,
See if I can blow that up.
so what you're looking at is the piece of property where the proposed fence would go. And what you're looking at specifically is what's planned currently for this location. So this is, just to get your bearings here, this is Long Pond Road. I'll zoom out a little bit just to give you an idea where we're talking about. This is Long Pond Road right here. This is the home right here. Here's the treatment plant here. And what's planned to serve as a barrier between this treatment plant and this home is this stretch of arborvitaes. And the idea would be to replace this with a more robust barrier that would include a combination of a fence, a very upgraded fence, not a standard budget fence, but something a little more beefy and more significant, and that would be done in combination with a vegetative element. It may be the arborvitaes, but it may not be. Whatever would be best to serve as the most aesthetically pleasing barrier. And again, it's in the spirit of being a good neighbor, et cetera, just like what Tom had
And
said.
it also adds to the property of Lawrence Road as well. I mean, if it's aesthetically pleasing, so.
Is it meant to be also to abate some of the sound?
I would imagine.
It would.
Yes.
It's not going to be a very noisy plant, the building itself.
It's not going to be very noisy at all.
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Yes.
So I understand what Ryan is saying, because yes, there is a chance EOHLC will say, that this isn't qualifying as a fundable project, even though it is categorized under the completion of a housing project. Maybe we look at a splitting of maybe some of, I don't know if it would cost $50,000 to rewrite zoning. And I know I met with Beth Piles to ask her about this after you brought it up, Ryan, and she said, she's really focusing 2026 on a comprehensive effort to look at zoning. The local comprehensive plan is working with the Cape Cod Commission. So I don't know her time frame. If it's in the next 6 months to do all that work, I can always follow up. But maybe we allocate some more, like you said, to the down payment assistance, so our number could be higher. Maybe we put another 30 there, and then there's 20 in the bucket for zoning.
I think Barbara might be somebody that could weigh in on basically costs for zoning consulting.
Sure.
I know it's on the spot, but I also want to point out that a local comprehensive plan is not zoning in and of itself. And
No.
typically, it's a 2-year process for a local comprehensive plan.
Yes.
So through the chair, I'm just trying to tally up all the grants that went into funding Ken and Ryan's work. 50,000 to start with, and that got us most of the way through the Walsh zoning. But to accomplish more and to look at other parts of the zoning bylaw and another overlay district, I signed a $95,000 contract with Ken last year. So it does cost money, and I completely get your perspective on it, and I think talking to Beth is, makes sense here. And again, it's a workload issue for Tom to address, but I like Ryan's idea of, as a backup to the fence, a chunk of money towards a consultant, because some things can be accomplished in-house, but it was certainly, way over my abilities to do the sort of work that Kenan did. And, that really needs somebody on the outside. So, thank you.
So are we saying, if I may, Mr. Chair, are we saying that we're going to go ahead with Ann's suggestion if they come back and they say that's not eligible, or you're not going to get that much money for this? We can then have, because it does say they're going to give you an opportunity if some of these things, you can go back and say, all right, we're going to change this and make it that. Is that what we're saying, that we would give it to zoning if this suggestion of these 4 suggestions don't make the mark? Is that what we're saying?
So through the chair, I think Ryan made a very good suggestion, which is if just the first one is disallowed, the fence. And I hope it isn't, because I agree with the good neighbor part of this. But Ryan's suggestion as a backup to that, if that is disallowed, to put that $50,000 towards a consultant for zoning. And, we're going to have to do that sooner or later, and this seems like a good opportunity. And I thought Ryan's suggestion, is a good compromise. So I support that.
Can I have another question, just for my own clarification? If we redo zoning, does that have to go to town meeting?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
But, just some of the requirements are, for seasonal communities, is a tiny home, at least at one district that allows tiny homes. The Wellfleet zoning bylaw doesn't set a minimum building size.
Right.
So conceivably, it could be compliant, probably, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if they've finalized the regulations yet or not yet. But then the Affordable Homes Act includes the requirement for protected use ADUs.
Right.
And there's the Wellfleet's zoning bylaw for ADUs actually is more permissive in terms of the allowed size of ADUs, but there's other elements of it that are less permissive than what is allowed for protected use ADUs. So, that is something that would need to be teased apart. But there's a variety of other elements like that.
It sounds to me that this is a well-thought plan. I understand now. Thank you for the context for the fence.
Sorry.
No, it's helpful. I would be prepared to make a motion to move forward with this plan, and if we hear back that one of these 4 items is not acceptable, we'll have a discussion on what to do with the money.
Sounds good.
So I move to direct town administration to apply for this grant as put forward in the packet.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Well, I would, as a friendly amendment, as in the packet with the provision that as a backup plan, should one of them not be deemed allowed use, to be applied towards zoning consulting.
If I may, I don't know if I want to just say that's going to definitely be it. I think that we're giving ourselves some leeway with Josh's permission,
There's not enough time between when the application closes and to basically come back to the board and make a determination as to what we might want to do instead.
Oh, this is helpful context. Okay, so if we're given feedback that one of these 4 is not permissive, we still need to meet the Friday deadline. We're not going to have time after Friday
Right. Yes.
to come back. I understand. Yeah, I accept the friendly amendment.
second.
I think we need, second the amendment, right?
Second the amendment, the motion with the friendly amendment.
Well, I think we have to vote on the amendment.
No, the motion hadn't been seconded yet, and Mr. Yesson.
Oh, I thought it had.
But yeah, Sheila
I
had
did second it.
Seconded. All right.
So
How do we want to?
if
Do you
he is
withdraw?
changing,
Hold on.
okay, go ahead, restate it.
Will you withdraw your second? I will withdraw my motion.
I
now.
will withdraw my second.
I withdraw my motion, and I will make it again. I move to instruct town administration to apply for the Seasonal Communities Grant Program 4, $50,000 to install a 125-foot fence between the residents at Lawrence Hill and 180 Long Pond Road, $50,000 for down payment and closing cost assistance program, $30,000 for an AD loan program, and $2,426 for marketing and outreach to community to promote existing homeownership and rental assistance programs, as well as the housing rehab program and the Mass Saves Energy Assessment Program. If any of such aforementioned components of the application are deemed unapplicable, I don't know if that's a word, but we know what I mean.
Good enough.
Not eligible.
Disqualified?
Dis-
Ineligible.
Ineligible, thank
Ineligible.
you. If any of the aforementioned are ineligible, I then direct town administration to apportion the remaining amount towards a zoning consultant for revising our bylaws to conform with the Affordable Housing Act and Seasonal Communities designation.
That is a long motion.
I know,
I'm trying to
it's very
encapsulate the
detailed, and
conversation.
I think it's clear,
It is.
so,
I'll second that.
okay.
Okay, roll call vote.
Ryan, aye.
Barbara, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
And John, aye.
Thank the board.
Passes 5-0.
Rebecca, we miss
Thank
you
you.
and your lovely, well-written.
That was on
Gee,
me. I didn't.
that's okay.
I
That's
didn't
okay.
give
She
you
was
a
on
sample
vacation.
motion.
Thank you,
Welcome
Ann.
back, welcome
Yeah,
back.
thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
Yep,
Thank
nice.
you, Ann.
Welcome, good
excellent.
night.
Great job. Thank you.
Yeah, and just
Thank you,
for what
Ann.
it's worth, I mean, Truro is scrambling with this right now as well, just to figure out what to do in 3 days. So,
And the last item of business, pond quality testing funding source, for which we do not have any documents.
Oh, Mr. Chairman. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and,
No,
yep.
there are no documents, I'm sorry. There is a possibility that the county is going to start doing some pond testing throughout the Cape. I have reached out to Mr. Gottlieb to ask, what is the county proposing that you're going to do? And what is duplicative of what we are doing? And is there a way that we could reduce the appropriation of the 87,000, whatever I've got in the budget right now, by an amount to kind of have the county prop up the other piece of that, since they're going to be doing some of those tests anyways. What I want to be sure we don't have occur is that we have less quality of testing than we're currently doing. So I'm waiting to hear back from Mr. Gottlieb on that. There was some thought of maybe not leaving this in as a line item and perhaps putting it on as an article or something, because it's outside the normal budgetary. It's not an essential function of the municipality under statute. But since I've got the budget balanced right now, that will be presented to you with that amount in the line item, I would like to leave it as is right now, and if we run into any hiccups, we can revisit. Not just this, there are other line items as well. I don't want to pin, because the pond testing has gone very well, and people are very happy with the way it's been happening, so I don't want to take away from it. But there was some thought, last week I was looking at 362,000, that went down to 19,000, that went back to 300,000. And Sue Moquin, who's done a fabulous job in putting the revenue side of this together well, and well thought through as well. I think we're going to be okay. Now, the select board may take a look at the budget and say, why did you do that, and change some other things around, okay? But being on a zero-sum game right now, we're balanced, and I think we're in good shape for me to deliver you a budget on the 14th or 15th. I'm going to ask that that get put back to the 14th because there's some conflicts on the 15th. Ryan, did I explain that well? or not?
Largely, yeah. So it's being funded by the Cape Islands Water Protection Fund. I think there's 2 or 3 ponds currently in Wellfleet that are on the listed as to be monitoring, but they haven't finalized the lists.
Right.
And they haven't, I can forward information about it to the board after this meeting. Some of it is still being finalized now, what it might entail. But basically, it grew out of, the Cape Cod Commission did a, what were they calling it? It was like freshwater quality initiative. And so basically, as part of it is basically selecting a number of sentinel ponds throughout the Cape that are monitored. There's some in every town. And this is paid for by basically the Water Protection Fund, which is funded through, the 3.5% that's charged to short-term rentals. And basically, I think Gull Pond is on it. There's a few others, but it's like, basically what are the differences, if any, between the monitoring that the town would like to see and what they would actually be doing. And also, once the finalized list is out, initially they had, I don't know. Basically, yeah, that's it. And I don't know. As we go through the budgeting process, I think if we find ourselves in a place where we need to find funds, one way that we could do it is moving the pond watering into basically a separate article that would be funded by other available funds. So close out of other warrant articles and things of that nature, at least until we know exactly what is going to be covered by the Water Protection Fund and which isn't. But if Tom said he has a balance with it in it currently, I mean, that's all good, so.
Right. Yeah.
It's balanced.
It's balanced, and what we're saying is we might not have to use all of it if all things work well, is basically what you're saying.
No action required.
No action,
No,
just
no,
this
it was just
information.
discussion. It is in balance today.
Okay,
Okay. Well, in that
okay,
case-
good.
I guess we'll move on to select board reports. I have one, if anyone else? Oh, correspondence, right?
Well, I got one other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Chapter 7 Working Group. Mr. Conroy and I met before the holidays, taking in input from the board in our previous discussion. There was, and some input from the Finance Committee as well. We've submitted that latest draft along with a very rough draft of what regulations could look, what a bylaw could look like to the town administrator. They have then submitted them to council for review to make sure that they're appropriate to then bring back to the select board to review and to take any additional comments. But I think we're in a good place.
Yeah. I agree.
Through the chair, could I ask
Yeah.
one question? So bylaws as opposed to charter amendments?
It would be a combination of both. What we took from the conversation was that we didn't want to pin a date certain in the charter itself, and we wanted to have the charter refer to a bylaw instead, should we want to make amendments down the road. So we largely replaced every specific date in the charter with as defined by bylaw, and then we wrote a bylaw that references each section with a date.
Yep.
Okay.
And I do have correspondence, but I'll wait till the end.
Okay.
Just very quickly, because it only occurred to me, or actually only got finalized today, or last night, is my schedule for the coming semester is I'll have classes on Wednesday and Thursday nights. So, as I said, there was a class that I was basically on a waiting list for. And until everything had squared off, I wasn't really certain what my schedule was going to look like. So
Wednesdays and Thursday nights.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Well, I'm in discussions with the department chair about what my schedule will look like, and I'll let you know probably by the end of this week, I'll know.
Okay, thank you.
So we're hoping we're hoping I am free Mondays, right? Right?
because of sewer, yeah, 'cause that's.
Yeah.
oh,
Well,
yeah,
Mondays
or-
and Tuesdays. we've
No, that's
gotta
on
leave it-
Tuesdays.
Oh, no, Tuesdays are a given,
Yeah,
but I'm
that's- okay.
saying, so if I have the opportunity to preserve Mondays, I should.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. My report is on last night's Marina Committee meeting. The pertinent items that were covered, issues related to the ice machine, marina finances, dredging, mooring regs, and wait list regs. So very quickly, the ice machine issue, which I then subsequently had a conversation with our building commissioner about, centered on the engineering and construction for the enclosure. And the upshot of it is that by simply going with the shipping containers as was originally conceived, we will avoid having to get involved with building permits, and we can get this on the fast track and get it done. And my understanding is that the town administrator will be meeting with
Everybody.
yeah,
Everybody.
on Thursday
Right.
to get this streamlined and
Mr. Chairman, could I just
Yeah.
interject a piece here? When we looked at the shipping containers originally, we had the prices, we had the installation, we had everything ready to go. And then it was brought to my attention that there was $200,000 that had been voted to do a marina study, to make the marina a focal point of downtown and upgrading the facility and so forth. That's when we started to look at a more substantial shroud for the machine. That has become difficult. And as I told Mr. Picard this morning, and I've told Mr. Bugby this afternoon, at this point, I don't care if they put it in a balloon. I just want it done by May 1st, and whatever it takes to get that accomplished, we are going to do that.
Okay.
And, yeah, so that's the upshot of that part of the meeting. Marina finances, it was brought out, and this will address one of the emails I saw today that was addressed to the Select Board, which I think had some misconceptions as to what was implied in the discussion of marina finances. For quite a long time, going way back before Mr. Kavanaugh came on board, and really before the previous harbor master came on board, accounting practices have, at the marina have, shall we say, been somewhat casual. And actually, the nature of them and the results of them have sort of been a microcosm of what the town went through that Mr. Sumner had to help us untangle. So Mr. Kavanaugh is in the process of getting that straightened out and has the full cooperation of town administration on this. It is getting done. The issues arising from past practices are being corrected. And the marina is not $500,000 in the hole, as was implied. This is a cumulative effect of not knowing where things were being put. So, so that basically is, in a nutshell, what what happened was the invoices were being assigned to, not being assigned to their proper accounts. And this, in uncovering this, deficits were found in some categories.
Yeah.
And the process of putting these in the places where they belong is going to show some deficits. Once that's done, now, at that point, they will know how to proceed in the future. And already, with the help of Sue Moquin, he is reassigning those invoices to the categories to which they belong. And I must say, Sue Moquin is doing an outstanding job of helping him with this. Moving on to the dredging, I understand that we will be meeting really to determine the amount and location of and prospect of funds.
Could I just chime in
Go
on
ahead and
that?
address that.
So one of the issues, we need to do the maintenance dredging. That's priority. My concern, or not, it's not a concern, what we need to know is if the study, the study that needs to be done, the testing that needs to be done, all the things that need to be done before we dredge, are we going to be able to accomplish that and get the permits necessary so that we can do a dredge and bid it and do all the things we have to do? Because this is going to be a private, not the county, because they don't work on this, the material that we have is silty. We have a period of October to like January to do this. I need to know from the consulting group and the chair of the dredge committee if we are going to be able to accomplish this so that we can get it done in between the October and January dates, or is it in the next year? It will make a difference on my budgeting and whether we do an article, because this is a $3 to $4 million dredge. And there's 3.2 million in one account, there's 500,000 in another account that's up for funding. But I need to know if I have to do that 3.2 or $3 to $4 million, I've got to be able to plug that into an override or something, because there's no cash to be able to come up with. We'll have to bond it.
Yeah, we don't have any wiggle room.
And the state's reducing the amount that they're granting for dredge money.
So through the chair, when you say you need to know, when do you need to know?
Well, we're going to meet hopefully this week. I should have that answer this week.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
The dredging, there's actually, just for future reference, the dredging he was referencing is the inner channel that goes around behind the marina. That's already so filled in that the fishing vessels in D-Dock are in the mud on a minus tide. And that's not acceptable. The second area of dredging concern, which is a much smaller area, and where we might be able to use the county dredge, is by the jetty.
Yeah.
Because that's all sand.
And that fills in every year.
Yeah, no, it's progressing. It's getting narrower and narrower.
I still remember when there was no sand.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I can probably find old pictures of it. Basically, it stopped pretty far in.
Yeah.
So.
And then the third area is the area that the dredging task force is working with Audubon on, which is the mooring field that requires mitigation. That's a much longer range issue that we're not addressing right now. So, well, the dredging task force will be addressing it.
Yeah, I've moved the inner channel dredge out to 2030. It can be brought back, but I've put it out so that we know it's not coming at least in the next year and a half.
What's that? The
big dredge, the mitigation dredge.
Yeah. Okay. And We will be having the dredging task force is going to be bringing in Foth Engineering and its chief engineer to do a presentation on Monday, February 9th at 6 p.m., just for informational purposes. And that's for the Area 1 and for the jetty. Moving on, the last two items which directly concern the Select Board, the Marina Committee, working with the public and the Harbor Master's Office, have come up with a final draft of the mooring regulations as amended, and we'll be bringing that before us for action. And likewise, the wait list regulations have now been put into a final draft form and will be coming before us. And we also are going to be hearing about the concerts on the pier issue that's raised some concerns with the committee. That's just a word of warning. We will be hearing about this.
Now,
Do tell.
Nothing to discuss now about it,
Okay.
but just I wanted to let you know. So that's it for my report.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I know that the Marina Advisory Committee is kind of moving parcel by parcel through the regs, which I think is a great plan. When do you think that they'll be addressing fees?
Oh, I can answer that if you want. He has a fee structure that he and one of the members of the Marine Advisory Board have been working on. That will be coming. It has to go to the MAB before it comes here. They're just about ready to go. I would
It
expect.
has to go to town council too, doesn't it?
It has to go to council. He's aware that the fee structure, the regulations, all of that got to go to council before they come back and go before the board. I expect early February.
Thank you.
Yeah, then it will be substantial.
So,
Okay. All right, that's it for me. Any other select board reports? And you have your correspondence.
I have a single page, Mr. Chair. This will be quick.
Okay.
As always, this is the correspondence for December 17th to January 6th. We've had various administrative correspondence from the executive assistant regarding scheduling and documents for various meetings. Similarly as much from the town administrator. We received a letter saying the executive assistant has been working with the media team and they're uploading recorded town meetings to YouTube. That is an ongoing process and we'll keep you up to date when that is complete. We received a letter from a member of the public regarding a short-term rental inspections. We received an invitation to attend the holiday staff party. We received an email from the town administrator regarding a business license concern at the marina. Received a letter from the chair of the Cable, Internet, and Cellular Service Advisory Committee regarding opportunities to use the town's fiber network. Received a press release from the assistant town administrator regarding a recent cyber scam targeting Wellfleet residents. The committee secretary of the ZBA informed the board of a recent ZBA decision. We received the NOSSA Efficiency and Regionalization Study Phase 2 analysis. We received a letter of gratitude from a group of town staff for the extra days off. Dr. Curley shared the current CBAs with the board at its collective bargaining agreements. Received a letter from a member of the public regarding an RFP from Maurice's Campground. Received an email from the harbor master regarding an upcoming meeting of the Seaport Economic Council. Received an FYI that the NOST School System Regional Agreements Subcommittee has scheduled 4 meetings over the next few months. The TA shared an opinion with town council. Received a letter from a member of the public regarding snow on town sidewalks. The town administrator shared a quarterly local options tax revenues to date spreadsheet. We received a reminder that we have a walkthrough of Lawrence Hill tomorrow. Received a letter from a member of the public regarding the marina's finances. And we received a letter from the fire chief regarding the importance of maintaining, improving, and where necessary, creating access roads within our town, including Duck Harbor Road. That's all the correspondence.
There you go.
Great, thank you. And now topics for future, oh, no, I'm sorry. Town
thank you,
administrator.
Mr. Chairman. On the quarterly revenues that Josh just mentioned that I sent out yesterday or today, I don't know, the time flies away. We're up about $100,000 as over the prior year. We're going to be, as I said in the memo, we'll get the revenues, municipal revenues by the end of the month. We got to close out the month. Tomorrow, the harbor master, I believe with John, will be heading to
Seaport Economic Council.
The Seaport Economic Council, where a grant, which is currently embargoed, will be awarded. Once it is awarded, I may ask the board for a special virtual meeting to accept the grant so that we can move forward quickly, bringing on the engineering firm to start that work that we were discussing earlier. Thank the fire. The holiday party was a great success. It was also a flu super spreader event.
I'm glad I didn't make it.
As I recall, we had pretty much sick bay the whole next week, so.
Great.
Boy, I somehow missed that.
I got my flu shot.
Yeah, well, I got my flu shot, but it
I
didn't,
know.
it
A little
saved me
less,
from
but some people still
hospitalization.
got it.
That's all it did this year.
Right.
Right now, the budget, we've been working on the budget. I'm working on the narrative next week. The departments really should be commended for stepping up when I told them it was a tight year. They all complied. There are some things we couldn't, take a scalpel to, and this is more scalpel surgery. It's not huge. We're able to do much better than when we were 800 and some odd $1,000 upside down. I told you that would tighten up. It has, but I haven't got the schools yet. We plugged in 4% for both of the schools. We should be getting the debt figure for the regional schools. Some of it's within the assessment itself, and some of it is separate bonding. So we're waiting to get those numbers as well. The budget's okay. Just to let people know up front, this is not an extravagant year at all. I do have to staff up some of the wastewater stuff. We got to get that other committee up and running, and that's going to take some staffing. I'm working on using existing staff and reallocating their duties. So that's fine. I think our OPEB is going to be fine. All of the requirements that we have to make are going to be, we're able to meet those. That's not an issue. I'm still waiting. I have estimates on insurances and stuff. I know what the Blue Cross is going to be, but the liability, I've only got estimates on at this point. It's a little early yet to get the numbers, but I've plugged in 12% there. Everything we buy is more expensive than what we thought it was going to be when we put the stuff in. Example, I do want to, one other thing. We got the bids for the transfer station. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. We had plugged in 90,000. It came in at 145, which was not the number we were advised upon. I did ask Carolyn Murray, because it was a town meeting article, it was an article, are we limited to that $90,000 or do I have to go back to town meeting? Different towns do things differently. I wanted to be sure we were following. According to her, if we can find the additional $50,000, Jay's working on it, we can go forward with that without having to wait to another town meeting. So we're trying to find the money to do that. It's a goal. We're 18 months into it, and we'd really like to get it going. That is it. It's just been budget.
Okay.
It's just been budget.
Okay.
So, and I will leave you to whatever else we have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have topics for future discussion. Item A is the Briar Lane intersection.
That will be on the agenda on the 20th. The police chief and the fire chief and the DPW director will be ready. They're ready to make their recommendation, and that will come forward on the 20th.
Okay.
Is this with regards to the traffic
The
study that was done?
the five-way intersection.
Fantastic.
So.
Okay, and then the And then my item, which is to set up a joint session with the Select Board and the Maurice's Planning Committee, is we really need to assess where we're at.
Yeah. Could we do that on a non-regular select board night? Could we do that like on a Monday night?
I'm fine with
I
whatever.
imagine it's going to be at least an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever anyone else wants to do in that regard. I will be away from, just to remind people, I'll be away from the afternoon of the 15th of this month until the evening of the 25th. I will be available for meetings, theoretically anyway, online from the ship. I'm paying for internet, so.
Oh, that's like, what, $80 a day?
No, well, the package.
Mine was
I picked
90.
90? Okay.
It includes 150 minutes.
You want my Starlink?
What's that?
Do you want to talk to him?
I have a question about this, Mr. Chair. The joint session with Maurice's Planning Committee, do you envision this being a working meeting where the Select Board and the Planning Committee are in active discussion, or do you anticipate this also being an opportunity for taking public comment and having more of a public forum?
I sort of agonized over that. There are a lot of, in my opinion, legitimate concerns raised by not just myself and others, but the public. Whether this, at this stage, should be a public hearing, I'll defer to discussion on the board. What do you all think?
I think it would be most productive to have a discussion between the two groups. There's a lot of people involved already. The planning committee's 11 people, and the select board is 5 plus staff. That's a busy, busy discussion.
Sheila, what do you think?
I think it would be very long if we allowed public comment, and I think it would be good to have a presentation of where everybody is. And we can ask questions as that's presented to us. And then if we want to have a public hearing, maybe on what we've heard, we can decide that. But I'm sure we could invite people to write their comments if they want and send them to us, and we could bring that up in another
I would urge people
forum.
to do
But
so.
we're not going, and you could tell us how many we got. We don't have to read every one, but you could tell us that there was a big response, and we can review those at the appropriate time or have people come in.
Yeah, and I've been following the emails that have come in on this subject. So. Barbara?
I think an initial conversation that's the two boards together and staff, but provide another opportunity for public comment. I mean, people in theory could be coming here to talk to us. I haven't heard anything, from the public during public comment, but let's provide some opportunity for them to do so.
Yeah, and meanwhile, people will certainly email and we will read them. So.
Yes.
And it will be an education for everybody at the same time. So then they'll be able to formulate the right questions and comments.
Well, that sounds like the way to go for now.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'd prefer to be there, but if it works out that it has to happen while I'm away, I can try to join.
We'll be back on the 25th, right?
I'll be back the night of the
you could do it.
25th.
You could do it the next
Traveling
week.
largely in the same time frame, the 21st to 25th.
Okay.
So we won't do anything in those 4 days?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I have Zoom, but,
Yeah, no, this wouldn't be a good Zoom meeting. This is a.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah, this is a.
I have, this should have been a report, I apologize, but it also needs to be a future agenda item. I was invited by the town administrator to attend a conversation with town administration, all of our wastewater consultants, I believe, and Mass DEP. And we were asking clarifying questions based on their comments to the target water management plan that was submitted. One of the questions that I had pertained to how they're not accepting the Herring River restoration project's projected benefit to Wellfleet Harbor. And when we drilled down as to why, it's not because that they don't believe that they're collecting appropriate data, it's that we don't have a QAP, which is a Quality Assurance Project Plan, QAPP. I do think we as a board need to instruct our members of the Herring River Executive Council to act on the town's behalf to get the project moving in the direction of getting the QAP. So, you know,
Okay.
it should be a short agenda item on a future meeting. Maybe we can add it on the 20th. I think we just need to make a simple motion to do so, but I don't think it's appropriate.
Yeah, previously when I've asked about this, they said the project funders will not fund it.
I apologize for not making this a full report. I had a conversation with Carol Ridley about this, and she seemed generally amenable to at least starting the conversation with DEP. Now that's not an assurance or a promise, but when I brought it up, it didn't seem as if it was going to be a major hurdle. So I think we could add it to the 20th. It's just a very simple motion just to instruct our team to get that moving. That's my request for future agenda items.
Through the chair, if Mr. Yeston would be so kind as to send both Rebecca and I an email to put it on the agenda for the 20th, we will remember to do that, even though I got it written down.
All right. Moving on to minutes, and I didn't have minutes in my packet.
No, there were no minutes. I couldn't find them. I know they were done, but I couldn't find them.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll do that next month.
Well, then,
Mr. Chair.
dare I say it,
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
roll call vote.
Ryan, aye.
Barbara, aye.
Sheila, aye.
Josh, aye.
John, aye.
8:30.
Recording stopped.